Power does not go to the most talented. It does not go to the most hardworking. It does not even go to the most intelligent. It goes to the person who understands how it moves and positions themselves accordingly. You have been told a story about how success works. Work hard, be skilled, be deserving, and the right people will notice. That story is not a lie, but it is incomplete in a way that has cost you years. The part nobody told you: power moves through relationships, positioning, and timing, not just through merit. And the people who understand those three things almost always end up above the people who only understand merit. Here's a real example. Think of someone you know who is less talented than you, less experienced, less capable by any objective measure, who is somehow above you in the hierarchy. You have wondered how. Today, you are going to understand exactly how. It is not luck. It is not unfairness, at least not entirely. It is the result of someone understanding something about how power moves that you were never taught. And today, that gap closes. Machiavelli mapped the mechanics of power 500 years ago with a precision that has never been surpassed. He documented exactly how power changes hands, not through force or luck, but through specific, learnable, repeatable moves. Those moves were suppressed, discredited, hidden behind a reputation for cruelty that his critics manufactured precisely because the truth he documented threatened their ability to hold power over people who did not understand how it worked. Today, the blueprint reaches you, not to make you manipulative, to make you literate. There is a language being spoken in every room you enter, a language of power, positioning, and influence, and you have been the only one not reading it. This knowledge is for understanding, not domination. You are not learning to control people. You are learning to stop being controlled by processes you could not see. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will never misread a room the same way again. Let's start with the story you were sold. Work hard, be excellent, develop your skills, and the world will recognize and reward you. This story is not entirely wrong, but it leaves out the most important variable. The missing variable is this: power does not automatically flow to merit. It flows to visibility, to positioning, to the right relationships at the right time. Merit is the entry ticket. The rest of the game is played on an entirely different board. You have been playing the merit game brilliantly and wondering why it is not producing the results that were promised. It is not producing them because the results are decided on the positioning board, not the merit board, and you have not been playing there. This is not cynical. This is accurate. And the moment you accept it, not with bitterness, but with clarity, you can start playing the full game rather than half of it. Power moves through specific channels. It does not float freely. It flows through relationships of trust and utility, through people who are positioned at critical junctures, through decisions made at specific moments that either capture it or miss it. These channels are learnable. The people at the top of every hierarchy you have ever been part of understood these channels intuitively or were taught them explicitly. Either way, they knew something you were not told. Until now. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. You are not learning to take power from others. You are learning to stop leaving yours on the table because you did not know the game had a second board. Machiavelli documented 6 specific mechanisms through which power changes hands, not theories, observations, documented from watching it happen in real rooms with real people with real consequences. Each mechanism is learnable. Each one is immediately applicable to your actual life, and each one will make you slightly uncomfortable, which means it is accurate. Before we go into the lessons, understand one thing. Knowing how power moves does not make you cynical, it makes you effective. Cynicism is what happens when you see the mechanics and choose bitterness. Effectiveness is what happens when you see them and choose strategy. The most ethical, principled, effective leaders in any field all understood these mechanics. They used them not to harm others, but to build things worth building, protect things worth protecting, and reach positions from which they could do genuine good. That's the use case. That's why this knowledge matters. Not to win at someone else's expense, to build at your own potential. Machiavelli's most misunderstood insight was this: understanding how power works is not the same as worshiping it. The surgeon who understands disease is not the disease, he is the solution. Let me show you who Machiavelli actually was, and then 6 mechanisms that will permanently change how you understand every room you enter. Because once you see how power actually moves, you can't unsee it, and you will be better for that permanently.
Niccolo Machiavelli did not theorize about power. He observed it. For 14 years, as a diplomat and senior advisor to the Florentine Republic, he sat inside the actual mechanisms of Renaissance power and watched them operate in real time. He watched power change hands dozens of times. He watched men rise and fall, not based on their talent or virtue, but based on their understanding of timing, positioning, and the management of relationships at critical moments. He documented every pattern. He himself rose to significant power and then lost it entirely when the political tide turned. That loss gave him something his years of observation could not: the view from the other side. He understood power from both positions. Almost no one else has. He wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." Read that slowly. He is telling you that position follows the man, not the other way around. The man who understands power mechanics makes any position he occupies powerful. The man who does not finds that even a high title offers him no real leverage. He was not telling you to ignore titles or positions. He was telling you that the internal qualities, the understanding, the positioning, the relationship management are what make any external position work. Build the internal capacity first. The external position will follow or become irrelevant. 6 mechanisms of power transfer drawn from his 14 years of direct observation. Each one is happening around you right now, in your workplace, your relationships, your community. After today, you will see all of them. These are not tricks, they are not manipulations, they are the actual mechanics of how influence and authority move between people. Understanding them is the difference between navigating intentionally and being navigated. Machiavelli's gift to you is not a manual for domination, it is a manual for navigation. The terrain has always been there, he simply drew the map. Read the map, navigate with it, build what you were meant to build from positions you were meant to occupy. 6 mechanisms, starting now. Mechanism 1. Power does not follow actual value, it follows perceived value. And the gap between those two things is where most talented people get stuck. You can be the most capable person in the room and be perceived as less capable than someone who manages their visibility better. That perception, however inaccurate, determines how power flows toward you, not your actual capability, your perceived capability. This is not about performing competence you do not have. It is about ensuring that the competence you do have is visible to the people who make decisions about your position. Those are 2 completely different things. Starting today, identify the decision makers who determine your position. Then ask, do they have accurate visibility into my actual contributions? If the answer is no, that is your first strategic priority. Not more work, more visible work. Machiavelli understood this completely. The prince who did great things in private and announced nothing was not admired, he was unknown. The prince who did the same things and ensured they were known was powerful. Same actions, different outcomes, different visibility. Mechanism 2. Power transfers at decision points. The person in the room when decisions are made has a fundamentally different relationship to power than the person who executes the decisions afterward. Position yourself near the decisions. Most talented people position themselves near success, near projects that are going well, near teams that are performing. That is good, but the power is not at the success, it is at the decision that created the success. Find the decision and be near it. Here's a real example. Two equally talented people. One focuses entirely on executing their role brilliantly. The other executes their role and also makes themselves useful to the person who makes decisions one level above their current position. In 2 years, where are they both? Starting today, identify one decision that happens one level above your current position. Find a legitimate way to be useful to that decision: information, execution, perspective. Make yourself a resource at the decision level rather than only at the execution level. Machiavelli noted that the advisors who shaped kingdoms were not the most skilled executors at the base. They were the people who made themselves indispensable at the point where decisions were made. Indispensability at the decision level is the most reliable path to influence ever documented.
Mechanism 3. Power transfers through relationships of trust and utility. The person with the right relationships has access to power that the person without them, regardless of merit, simply cannot reach. Not all relationships are equal in their power transfer capacity. Relationships built on genuine mutual utility, where both people benefit from the other's success, transfer power reliably. Relationships built purely on social proximity or occasional interaction transfer almost nothing. The question is not how many relationships you have. It is whether the relationships you have are built on genuine mutual utility. 3 relationships of that quality outperform 30 relationships of the social proximity variety every time. Starting today, audit your relationships for mutual utility. Who in your network genuinely benefits from your success, and whose success genuinely benefits you? Those relationships deserve your investment. The rest are pleasant, but not strategic. Machiavelli's most enduring alliances were built on genuine mutual utility. His inner circle survived his exile and preserved his legacy precisely because the relationship was genuinely valuable to both sides. Utility-based loyalty is the most durable kind. Mechanism 4. The same move made at the wrong time produces nothing. Made at the right time, it produces everything. Timing is not luck. It is the most learnable skill in the power game. Power has windows, moments when a specific move, a request, a conversation, a position taken will land with maximum force. Those same moves made outside the window land with a fraction of the impact or no impact at all. Reading the window is the skill. Timing windows open around transitions, a new leader, a new project, a restructuring, a moment of organizational uncertainty. These transitions create windows where positioning, relationships, and visibility all carry more weight than usual. This is when power actually changes hands most reliably. Starting today, identify the transitions happening in your environment right now. A leadership change, a new initiative, a restructuring. These are not disruptions to survive, they are windows to use. The question is whether you are positioned to move through them. Machiavelli called fortuna, fortune, timing, the current of events, one of the 2 primary determinants of outcomes. The other was virtù, capability and readiness. His formula was simple: develop the capability so that when the window opens, you can move through it. Most people have the capability, almost no one is watching for the window. Mechanism 5. Power flows toward the person who controls how situations are interpreted, not just the person who performs best within them. Narrative control is one of the most powerful and most overlooked mechanisms of power transfer.
The person who frames a situation, who defines what it means, what success looks like, what the relevant question is, has more influence over the outcome than the person who simply performs within whatever frame was set by someone else. You know this from experience. Someone described a project failure in a way that distributed blame towards you before you had a chance to speak. Their narrative, not the facts, determined how the room received the event. That is narrative control working against you. It can also work for you. Starting today, in any situation where interpretation matters, speak first or speak most clearly. Define what the situation means before someone else does, not to spin the truth, to ensure the truth is framed accurately rather than disadvantageously. Machiavelli understood that the prince who allowed others to write the story of his reign, even if the facts were in his favor, lost ground to the one who told his own story clearly and consistently. Your results need a narrator. Make sure that narrator is you. Mechanism 6. Knowing when to withdraw, when to step back from a position, a conflict, or a commitment is one of the most powerful moves available. Most men confuse withdrawal with weakness. It is often the opposite. Holding a losing position because leaving feels like defeat costs more than the position was ever worth. Withdrawing strategically, moving resources, attention, and energy from a losing position to a winnable one is how power is preserved rather than depleted. Here's a real example: a relationship, a job, a project where you stayed far longer than the evidence suggested you should, not because the situation improved, because leaving felt like giving up. That distinction between strategic withdrawal and giving up is everything. Starting today, assess every major commitment you currently hold. Is this position improving with continued investment, or am I holding it out of ego, sunk cost, or fear of looking like I failed? The honest answer to that question is worth more than any amount of continued holding. Machiavelli watched princes destroy themselves, holding indefensible positions because withdrawal felt like weakness. He documented that the strategic withdrawal, executed cleanly with timing and narrative control, preserved more power than any amount of costly holding ever could.
The old blindness is gone. The version of you that worked hard and wondered why it wasn't enough, that performed brilliantly in private and was overlooked, that held losing positions out of ego, that missed windows because he didn't know they existed. That man operated in a world he could not fully read. Not anymore. You are a weapon pointed at your own future. A man who understands how power moves is not more ruthless than one who does not. He is more effective. He builds more of what he wants to build. He reaches more of the positions from which he can do real good. He wastes less of his life on work that does not move things. You belong to no one, not to the systems that moved you without your knowledge, not to the dynamics you participated in without understanding, not to the positions you held out of ego rather than strategy. You navigate now with full information, in full awareness, by choice. Machiavelli spent his life giving people this map. He was punished for it, exiled for it, discredited for it, and his map survived all of that, because maps of reality cannot be suppressed forever. The territory always eventually confirms them. If this reached you, it reached you because you have been working hard in a room where the game has more dimensions than you were shown. Today, one more dimension became visible. Subscribe if you are ready to play the full game, not just the merit board, the whole board. This channel is for men who want to build real things from real positions using real understanding. Every week, one more mechanism, one more dimension of the room you are already in, one more tool for building what you are meant to build. Be here with the map because the territory was always there and you deserve to navigate it with full information. Before you go, leave your answer in the comments. I read every one. Here is today's question.
Looking at your current situation through these 6 mechanisms, which one is most relevant to where you are right now? Visibility, positioning, relationships, timing, narrative, or withdrawal? And what is one specific move you could make this week?